The evening sun painted the small town golden, and the bell tower of the House of Grace Ministry stood tall, casting its long shadow across the narrow street. Inside the church, the choir practiced for Sunday's service, their voices rising in harmony that made the old wooden walls tremble with life. Among them was Daniel, a boy whose voice carried a raw, soulful depth that always set him apart. He was the kind of boy mothers warned their daughters about, quick-witted, rebellious, and unafraid of rules. He had joined the choir only because singing was the one place he felt alive. And then there was Miriam, the pastor's daughter, the perfect image of grace. To everyone, she was gentle, obedient, and holy, but her heart longed for more than the path her father had already planned for her. Their worlds collided one evening after choir practice. The others had left, and Miriam stayed behind to arrange hymn books when Daniel strolled up to her, flashing the mischievous grin that made her nervous. "You shouldn't be here this late," she said softly. "And yet," Daniel leaned against the piano, "you're here too." She looked up at him, and for the first time, their eyes held. Something dangerous flickered between them, something that whispered of a love both thrilling and forbidden. At first, it was small things. Miriam sneaking glances at Daniel during choir practice, Daniel making her laugh in ways that made her cheeks glow. He teased her about being too serious, too guarded, while she scolded him for missing rehearsals or coming late. But one night, after a youth vigil, it happened. They stood outside under the moonlight, the air thick with silence and unspoken words. Daniel leaned in, lowering his voice. "You know this isn't just music for me, Miriam. It's you. It's always you." Her heart pounded so loud, she thought he could hear it. She wanted to resist, to walk away, but instead, she whispered back, trembling, "Daniel, this can't happen." And then, against every rule, every fear, every warning, they kissed. From that night, their world changed. They found ways to meet secretly, behind the old church, at the riverbank where no one would look for them, under the stars after choir rehearsals. Their love was sweet but heavy, a secret wrapped in fear. Miriam knew her father would never allow it. Pastor Elijah was a stern man who demanded holiness from everyone, but most especially from his only daughter. To him, Daniel was nothing but a distraction, a boy with a troubled past and no respect for authority. And yet, when Daniel held her, when he whispered that he'd fight the whole world for her, she couldn't help but believe him. Rumors began to spread in the church. Some choir members noticed how Daniel's gaze lingered too long on Miriam, how she blushed around him. One Sunday, Pastor Elijah found Miriam's hymnal left carelessly on her desk. As he flipped through the pages, his eyes caught the notes scribbled in the margins, lines of love, initials entwined, and Daniel's name written over and over. His face burned with rage. That evening, when Miriam returned home, she found her father waiting, the hymnal on the table. "What is this, Miriam?" His voice thundered through the house. Her hands trembled. "Papa, You have shamed this family, this church. Do you know what people will say if they find out? Do you know what this could do to my ministry?" Her tears spilled freely. "But Papa, I love him." "Love?" He spat the word like poison. "You will end this nonsense tonight, or Daniel will pay the price." That night, Miriam met Daniel one last time beneath the church bell tower, tears streaming down her face. "They know," she whispered. "My father knows. He's threatened to destroy you if we don't stop." Daniel took her hands firmly. "Then let's run away, Miriam. We don't need them. We'll make a life of our own." But Miriam shook her head, her heart breaking. "I can't. He's my father. He's my family. If I leave, I'll lose everything." The silence between them was heavy, but instead of letting her go, Daniel cupped her face and said, Then we fight, not against your father, not against the church, but for us, because real love is worth fighting for." For the first time, Miriam felt courage replace fear. The very next Sunday, Daniel walked into the church service not as the boy in the choir, but as a man ready to fight for love. When Pastor Elijah asked if anyone had a testimony, Daniel stood up. The whole church gasped. "I have something to say," he began, voice steady. "I know many of you see me as a rebel, someone unworthy of your respect. But I am here not as a choir boy, not as a troublemaker, but as a man who loves your daughter. I won't hide it anymore. I love Miriam, and I intend to honor her, not shame her." The church fell into stunned silence. All eyes turned to Pastor Elijah. His face was unreadable, a storm brewing behind his eyes. Miriam stood up then, her voice trembling but strong. "Papa, I love him, and I know you want the best for me. But what if the best is Daniel? What if God brought him into my life for a reason?" The congregation whispered, some nodding, some shaking their heads. Pastor Elijah looked between Daniel and Miriam, his jaw tight. Finally, he said, "Daniel, love is not proven in words, but in character. If you want my blessing, prove yourself. Show me that you are a man of discipline, responsibility, and faith." It wasn't easy. Daniel had to change. He worked harder, attended Bible study, took responsibilities in the church seriously, and slowly, people began to see him differently. They saw his talent, his dedication, his love for Miriam, not as rebellion, but as devotion. Months turned into years, and Daniel never wavered. One evening, Pastor Elijah called him into his office. "I've watched you, Daniel. You have fought not only for my daughter, but for your own growth. For that you have my blessing." Tears filled Daniel's eyes as he bowed his head. The happily ever after. Their wedding was small, but filled with joy. Miriam walked down the aisle in white, her father by her side, his stern face softened with pride. Daniel stood waiting, his heart pounding, not as the rebellious choir boy anymore, but as the man who had won both love and respect. When the choir sang, their voices soared higher than ever, and Miriam's eyes met Daniel's. This time, their love was not hidden, not forbidden, but blessed. And as Daniel kissed his bride beneath the very church bell tower where they had first shared their secret, he knew that true love, the kind worth fighting for, could never really be forbidden. Do you believe love this strong should be fought for, no matter the odds? If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more emotional love stories. Your support helps us keep bringing you tales of love that inspire hope and courage.